Hello everybody. In today's video we are going to continue with our series on the history of Islam. Previously we have been spoken about the expansion of Islam. We mentioned how fast was this conquering of all of the Middle East from we have to say 632 up to 656. Most of the Middle East and parts of North Africa were already under Muslim control. In around 20 years, it was incredible, the expansion of Islam and the swift victories of all the armies, and all of these lands from Palestine, Egypt, Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, all of these came under Muslim control, and the expansion continued from the point of the from the first three caliphs. There was a big expansion, as I mentioned, up to North Africa, and later on it continued, as we will describe today, up to Europe, up to Spain, and became what was known later on as Al-Andalus, the establishment of even a caliphate. And the Muslim army at the beginning expanded through the land, but in the early 8th century they became also a naval power, and they had control of the sea from Europe to India, North Africa, West Asia. All of this area was under Muslim control, and therefore the Muslim empire became so powerful on land and on the sea. Therefore it was amazing, the ability to conquer all these lands in such a short time, and to rule such a big and vast empire. And one of the things that was successful is that when the Muslim armies arrived, they did not impose their religion on the people. But for example, for Christians and Jews, they were allowed to remain in the land and to keep their religion as long as they pay a tax called jizya. And it was like a protection, money for protection, in other words. So it's like, okay, you want to live here, that's fine. You can keep your religion, but you have to pay me to protect you. And it was good because this is what the Muslims at the beginning wanted. They don't want people to convert at the beginning to Islam. They want the money to keep the support of the whole empire. Later on, people converted to Islam because, of course, there was more advantage to be a Muslim and not than to be someone else from different religion. Because we have to be honest, many people converted. Not some people were sincere, but others saw the advantage of being a Muslim, because then you could have certain power in the government, certain positions for the caliphs, and certain things that were not allowed for other people, meaning that the Muslim had certain privileges that other people did not have. Therefore, some of the population saw the advantage, and that's why later on it was total Islamization of the land. But in today's topic, we are going to focus on the establishment of the three first caliphates, the Umayyad. We will mention about the Abbasids, and we will talk about the Ottomans. In future videos, we will describe each one of them, and we will talk also about the Fatimids. This is the Shia caliphate that not many people talk about, but we should talk about because it was very important at the time. And regarding the Umayyad dynasty, it was established in Syria in the year 661 by Muawiyah. You have to remember, the Muawiyah was the one that rebelled against the Caliph Ali, as we spoke of this before. And with time, the whole Muslim world recognized Muawiyah after Ali's assassination, recognized Muawiyah as the ruler, and he established this dynasty, the Umayyad dynasty, with the capital in Damascus. And with the Umayyad Caliphate, we have to say that Islam saw a flourishing of arts, science, language, literature. And because at this time, with such big expansion, the Muslim world came in contact with the knowledge, with the sciences, with the art of all the Byzantine Empire, the Romans, the Egyptians, the Persians. All of this knowledge now came under the control of the Muslims, and therefore they integrated and advanced all these sciences and all this knowledge. And the Umayyad at the beginning, we have to give them credit of this. But with time, the Umayyad Caliphate gained a bad reputation, and some of the rulers, including Muawiyah, after his death, his son Yazid was appointed as his successor, something that was against the common understanding of the Sunni world in Islam, because we have to remember that after the death of the Prophet, this was one of the big problems. Some people wanted the descendants of the Prophet to be the rulers, and the other side said no, it has to be the most qualified. And Muawiyah, being a Sunni, did something that was not expected. He was the one who was supposed to succeed him was the most qualified, but he said no, it's gonna be my son. And then we have here the appearance of the hierarchical succession, or a kingdom if we want to call it, but we want to call it caliphate, but this is the similar idea. And this is the establishment of a dynasty. That's why it's called a dynasty. Father to son, always within the same family. So the Umayyad gained, as I mentioned, some kind of bad reputation, because even some of the rulers there were known as drunkards, and we have a big split that happened between them and some of the rulers in other parts, and we saw some rebellions and people going against them, and we know that they had certain kind of living that some people point towards pleasure and different things that we will expand in a future video. I don't want to criticize too much the Umayyad, because the Umayyad dynasty, the Umayyad Caliphate was a very important one. But as any caliphate, and these rulers were not exempt from error and mistakes, and this was a subject of debate at that time within the big theologians, if the caliph was supposed to be judged or no. These are the topics we will discuss later on, as we saw with the different philosophies within Islam, and we'll expand further on. But people got tired of the Umayyad, and they said it's enough with these people. And we have that in the year 750, it was their end. We have a new rebellion that occurred within the Muslim empire, and a new caliphate was established, the Abbasiyya, the Abbasids. The Abbasids took control, massacred and assassinated all of the Umayyad royal family. Only a few remain, and one of them escaped. His name was Abdurrahman. Abdurrahman escaped to Egypt, and from Egypt he went very far where no one could catch him. He went to North Africa, and from North Africa he crossed into Al-Andalus, into what is today Spain. And there he says he gained control, and he took down the government there, and he established an emirate, the Emirate of Cordoba. And we'll further on explain about them in a future video when we talk about the Umayyad Caliphate in Al-Andalus, that indeed was like a small but an extension of the Umayyad dynasty that ruled there for over 200 years, almost 300 years. So it's significant. That was the point in history in which three caliphates in the Muslim world were functioning at the same time. The Umayyads in Al-Andalus, the Abbasids with the capital in Baghdad, and the Fatimids in Egypt. And incredible the divisions that happen within the Muslim world. Regarding the Abbasids, as I said, the caliphate was established in 750. It was also a dynasty, meaning that the control was from father to son, like a kingdom. And the Abbasids were known indeed for being the most prolific and the ones with more, we have to say, gifts, if you want to call it in a certain way, for the Islamic world in reference to science, art, philosophy, language, literature, poetry, architecture. We have to say that the development that reached at the time of the Abbasid in the arts, in the science, philosophies, all of this, religion, deen, was indeed unparalleled. It was such a high level of education, of knowledge that the Abbasids became famous all over the world. Only later on in history we have that the ones that attained such a high level and dominion were later on the Caliphate in Al-Andalus, that also became the center of the Islamic world when the Abbasid Caliphate went into decline. And the Abbasids rule for almost 500 years until we have that certain invasions from the Mongols threaten the Caliphate. And when all other caliphates vanish, the Umayyads from Al-Andalus disappear, the Fatimids, the only one standing left was the Abbasids. And the Abbasids, as I said, they came to an end when the Mongols indeed controlled them and conquered and weakened the Caliphate. But later on we have that the Seljuks, a Turkic tribe who had converted to Islam, indeed in the 9th century captured Baghdad, and in the year 1050 they seize control of everything. And we have that they kind of try to extend the Abbasid Caliphate, and they reaffirm the Sunni character of this Caliphate. But we have to say that indeed these were Seljuks, Turkish people ruling in the name of the Abbasids. In the year 1258, as I said before, the Mongols put an end to the Abbasid Caliphate, and the Abbasid rulers were executed, imprisoned, enslaved, and a new order was established there. We have that the people that were used as soldiers for the Abbasids were known as Mamluks. They escaped this invasion from the Mongols, and they escaped from Baghdad. They went to Egypt, and in Egypt they took control, and they kind of tried to rule in the name of the Abbasids, but not really. And we have that in the year 1299 marked the founding of a new caliphate, the auto-proclaimed caliphate. We know it as the Ottoman Empire. And we have that these people who were Turkish people, they also captured Constantinople in the year 1453, and they put an end to the Byzantine Empire, the Christian Empire. We have to remember what we call today Turkey is not was not indeed a Muslim land. Neither was the land of the Turks. There was a Christian land, Greek Christianity, and the Turkish tribes, they conquered everything. They took control of the whole country, and they changed the name of the country from Byzantium. They put it Turkey, the land of the Turks. So we have then the sultans from the Ottoman Empire. They took the name of caliphs, and they established what was known as the Ottoman Caliphate. It's a way of political strategy, we have to say, to unite and to put in the minds of the Muslims all over the world, okay, we are in charge now, and this is a caliphate. So if this is a caliphate, then it is known that Muslims have to pledge allegiance to the caliph. So the sultans say, I am the ruler now, I'm representing God here. You have to be under my authority. And with time, the Ottoman Empire conquered the Middle East, parts of Europe, and with time everything was under their control. And of course they established their authority over the Arabs and over all of the Middle East, Syria, Egypt, Lebanon, Palestine, even part in what is today Saudi Arabia, Iraq. All this area came under the control of the Ottomans. Of course, in the 17, 18 centuries, the Arabs revolted and throughout these years they tried to gain independence from a foreign power that was, of course, they were Muslims, yeah, but they were invaders. So no one likes to be under the control of anyone. So the Arab tribes and rulers, they tried to gain independence from the Ottomans. And with time, when the colonial powers such as England, France, and others, the Russians, came into conflict, and they tried to incentivize the Arabs to go against and to uprise against the Ottomans. And finally the Ottomans and this caliphate came to an end, especially after World War I, with the defeat of Germany and the others that were on this side. The Ottomans were on the side of the defeated. That's why the lands that were conquered or under the control of the Ottoman Empire, these lands in the Middle East, these countries, as I mentioned, Syria, Palestine, Jordan, Egypt, they became now under the control of the British, the French, who were the victorious. So this was the end of the caliphate, and indeed it disappeared completely, because in 1922 Mustafa Kemal declared finally the abolishment of this the Ottoman Empire and the establishment of a secularist secular country. And we have that it was like the end of the Ottoman Empire and the end of the caliphate as we know it from history. In recent times we know that certain groups, Daesh, ISIS, try to revive this caliphate, and through terror and wars and killing everybody, Muslims and non-Muslims, it was a mass terror. No one recognized them really. In the majority of the Muslim world did not recognize such brutal and bloody caliphate, and we know that was their end. But there are some people, even up to this day, certain parts, certain groups, they still claim to represent ISIS, but we know was defeated. And so this is a brief history of the appearance of the different caliphates. In future videos we will go more deeply into each one of them. We will go in more detail about the Umayyads, the Abbasids, the Umayyads in Al-Andalus as a particular case. We will go over the Fatimids, the Ottomans, in more details of what happened with them, what were their internal problems, their achievements, the bad side also. We have to point to the good and to the bad that happened and what came out of it. In more detail we will talk about more in future videos. Thank you so much for your attention, and we'll see each other in the next video.